Chapter 1 Intro. A man was knocked to the ground. His neck was touched with the cold chill of a sword. His blood-stained eyes filled with bottomless hatred. Standing across from him was a man wearing a black robe, a clearly extraordinary-looking man, but his slightly raised lips revealed 12,000 points of evil. The handsome man's heart was barking, "Kill him! Kill him!" But the hand holding the sword was motionless. Instead, he started rambling about the past, from how he had destroyed the man's family, strangled the man's parents and siblings, retelling all the persecutions he'd inflicted on the man these past years. "Stop talking nonsense! Kill him and talk later!" The handsome man's heart let out a loud roar. When he was finally able to control himself and raise his sword, the horse was spared by him, and the woman laying to the side, who should have been on the verge of death, suddenly rose, grabbing a wicked sharp dagger and stabbing it into the middle of his back. He turned his head slowly, not daring to believe, his dark eyes filled with love, hate, and strong unwillingness. "I'm sorry," the woman choked, this long and drawn-out vengeful war finally coming to an end. But the villain's death didn't mean the end, but the beginning of everything. The handsome man who should have died was now standing in a vast sea of stars, his black robe replaced with skin-tight clothing, staring at the watch on his wrist. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a watch, but an AI. The man was called Zhou Yunsheng. Originally, he lived in the high-tech world of 2458 and was one of the top hackers. One day, when he finished a transaction on the Star Network and was about to log out, he was sucked into a different dimension called the Lord God space, by an existence similar to a black hole. There, he was loaded with the villain system, then set foot on the path of the villain, torn bodies and crushed bones, destined to die a miserable death. He obviously knew that he should not touch the male lead's woman, should not steal the male lead's treasure, should not bully the male lead's little brother, should not suppress the male lead's family, but he was under the system's control and had no choice but to do extremely stupid things, eagerly rushing down a road that only led to death. Even more frustrating, whenever he had the opportunity to stab, slash, or shoot to get rid of the male lead, the system would input a large paragraph of dialogue for him to read. After that, he realized there would always be someone silently waiting behind him, ready to stab him with a knife. It was inevitable. Zhou Yunsheng looked handsome, even when he wasn't smiling. His mouth always had a slight upward tilt, showing that he should be a gentleman. However, he was in fact the opposite. He was insidious, good at disguises, and his desire for control was very intense. A person who usually threatened the network as a plaything became a system pawn. That kind of huge psychological gap stirred up the ruthlessness hidden in the depths of his heart. He wanted vengeance on the Lord God. If he was an ordinary person, maybe he would search for clues in each traversal, or cooperate with the system, slowly enhancing his strength, then probing out the Lord God's origin, attempting to destroy it. However, Zhou Yunsheng was a hacker. No one knew the essence of data better than hackers. If it could be the world's most orderly, most exact, most stable machine, it could also be the most chaotic, most out of control, the most vulnerable existence. And in this virtual world, the omnipotent Lord God was actually just a set of data. If you wanted to destroy it, maybe you didn't need overwhelming power. You only needed a snippet of modeling code, commonly known as a virus. From the beginning, Zhou Yunsheng intended to turn himself into a virus, one that existed within the Lord God's system, so that it couldn't detect, couldn't control, and more importantly, couldn't eliminate the virus. Compared to the Lord God's huge CPU, he was just a string of insignificant code. But this code could cause permanent damage to wherever it flowed. One day, these injuries would overlap, become significant enough to paralyze the Lord God's system. Then, when the time came, no matter how, he would be able to return to the real world, alive, everything he went through already put behind him. He was looking forward to that prospect, very satisfied. Now, Zhou Yunsheng was fiddling with the eye on his wrist. It was a gift from the Lord God, the villain system. The system had its own code name, 007. Very sentimental, and its voice was also a Lolita voice, the most favorite among otaku. It was responsible for issuing the tasks assigned by the Lord God. If the task was failed, it was also responsible for issuing punishment. And when the host was disobedient, it could temporarily control their body. If necessary, the host would be obliterated. If he was an ordinary person, perhaps he would hate the system to the bone. But Zhou Yunsheng felt otherwise. The moment he received the AI, he exercised all control to suppress his heart's ecstasy and excitement. He was a hacker. Just give him a computer and he would be able to conquer the world. And so the Lord God provided him the handiest tool. After countless reincarnations, on this day, when he finally completed the villain mission, he wasn't sent back to the Lord God's pure white room. Rather, he came to this vast black sea of stars. 007 was broken through by the virus program he'd implanted, and the system that once threatened him was completely obliterated. 007 was now unable to issue tasks. It couldn't speak and it couldn't control the host's body. It became a precision instrument controlled by the host. Zhou Yunsheng stretched out his fingertips, slowly debugging the AI. His twinkling eyes filled with delight. The vast galaxy in front of him was a secret space created by 007. He would evade the Lord God's omnipresent monitoring. Here it was very safe, very charming. It was his shelter. He wandered through the galaxy, held a bright star in front of himself to observe, then gently put it back. The seemingly vast expanse of universe was in reality a place where anything could be reached with a thought. The so-called powerful didn't mean physical strength, but spiritual. Zhou Yunsheng laughed quietly. He placed his fingertips on his wrist and immediately disappeared into the sea of stars. He couldn't wait to pollute the Lord God's perfect world.